Now bringing it back over to first person, we're pretty close to the end result that we're looking for in order to complete our animation. But this is where we can go in and add some nice fine details to things that we want to emphasize or push more. Currently the animation is playing as we want it to, but we have a few differences and we're just going to switch that up a little bit. So the first thing we're going to do is we want to bake down all these keyframes in the animation through here. So that's what I'm going to do with my key in baking simulation. And now that we have all our keyframes frames in place, what we've changed about 3P animation that we need to make an adjustment here to is the frame rate. Not the frame rate, I'm sorry, the frames in general, is the frames. So now we've gone to 40 and we're just going to push 39 up to 40. And by grabbing all the keys, we are just going to emphasize a little bit more to the end right here. So what I like to do is basically just grab the scale instead of just the one frame, because most people would just grab one frame and then move it over, but we're trying to smooth out the whole ease out into the last frame. So that's what we'll do right here. Yeah, all right, great. And then now what we're going to do is just going to look for small things to polish. The camera move is pretty set. I'm really liking what the camera move is at. The impact is there. I would like to make a little bit more adjustments to the leg on the outro. I think also to the hands, the return to settle here with the machine gun can use just a small little bit of polish. So let's just take it one step at a time. Look at the exit with the hand. I think too we can also work a little bit on the fingers as well. And also see if there's any small little extra tidbits on the secondary animation on the AK-47 that we can move as well. There's a bunch of stuff here that is kind of like showing, you know, like a secondary motion that we can do here. And I think let's just start off with that first a little bit. So like maybe like when we're exiting here, this top piece opens up. We can just keyframe here. And as we're exiting, we can raise the top a little bit up here. Then go back to 0. And then as we come back up, we can raise up and back down again. Looking at this and what other things that we have, like maybe on the side, I'm not sure what comes with this, the accessories that come on this AK-47. It looks like there's one on the side here too, so there's also this as well. But we won't be able to see that, so we don't have to worry about this one. Cool. So yeah, one of the big things that I'm looking at that's really catching my eye is the thumb. So maybe we can work on finessing this a little bit on the way out. As we're coming out here, I'm noticing like we're sliding down the barrel a little bit. So we can probably work on that just a little bit more. Grabbing the thumb pose here. Making sure that we're on our base anim. Yeah. Yeah, cool. And then getting it to an idle pose here. And looking into this as we're sliding down the barrel right here. I think during this little movement right here, we can really emphasize where the finger is going. So I'm just going to add a small little anim layer here. And then for this movement coming out, we're going to have just the thumb sliding back just a little bit. We have these two top thumb controls here. Add these characters. So just like a nice little slide motion on the way down. And just making sure that the thumb is curling down the weapon and not kind of like gripping the weapon, almost like pressing into the weapon, giving that feeling. Yeah, I like this motion right here. I'm going to utilize some of these slider tools too to kind of get that feeling that I want. So like this bend right here, I'm just going to blend to ease this a little bit more. Maybe blend this a little bit more, just a little bit of ease in. A little bit more blend to ease over here. Cool. This is fine. Let's see. Let me just go back and copy paste this. I don't want to do too much anim layers over on top of each other. So I'm just going to merge this with our base anim. Go to merge. Grab my finger controls here. And then really try not to make it too obvious. This pop is pretty big. So I'm just going to put a little bit more blend to ease on this. Same thing with here too. I'm going to delete this keyframe, move this one over. Just subtle movement. Yeah, like that. So just tracking this movement of the AK-47. Around here, this jump feels a little spacious, so I'm just going to go back, grab the right hand, and just make adjustments accordingly on the screen exit. Right here, I'm going to try to find the middle ground between this one and this one. Go over to the right just a little bit. Just minute details. Yeah, that one feels a lot better. That exit feels better. And then this movement right here just feels a little kind of edgy. On this movement, I want to feel, let me try it into world mode. On this movement right here, I want to have a little bit more further back. Just a little Z. And here's the interesting thing. For this little tweezer tool down here, you can select this, and this is just giant movements and like 3/4 the less torque on moving into your mouse, which is really helpful. Small little tweaks. And then here as well, want to have a little bit of rotation. Actually, which might make a good idea to start moving this tool as well. So this is your temp pivot tool. You could select this guy. And then what it'll do is it'll say, okay, where you want to put the pivot, and you can put the pivot anywhere you generally want on this gun. And since it's kind of dropping from the front, we want to move this pivot forward a little bit. And then pressing Y or E, you can set that pivot and then start moving it the opposite way. So this is the movement we're looking for. We just want the rotation to drop a little bit from the outside. So So this is feeling pretty good. And then here, maybe to bring it back up just a little bit more. And then also this one as well. That feels pretty good. All right, let's take a look at the the settle. So coming back up, this was feeling pretty good to begin with. I think what we could do is just have like a little grip on the thumb, and through here, yeah, through here we want that back end. See how the back end's pushing back and forth right there? It's coming back and forth through this way in Z-plane. So what we're gonna do is go back to our temp pivot. And the great thing about temp pivot is when you select it on, it remembers where your pivot was before. So the back butt end is coming out. I think here too, we could probably just readjust this. Sweet. And then through here as well. And then a little bit of rotation here. It's important to feel like the weapon's coming down and not hitting any too hard corners. Like this part feels like it could be easing a little bit more into here, a little bit more easier, like that. Nice slow in, slow out. And then small little places right here. There's a little, I feel like a little rocking back and forth between RY here. And I think it's due to this keyframe. So looking through here, just deleting the Y. Making sure that these are clean, especially around this angle. Let's take a look at this one as well. And then you could really play around with the polish pass, like the best guess and polish pass tangents. And then RY as well. I think this one's the culprit. I think around here, I would like to see a little bit more rotation. So grabbing the rotation tools, coming around here, I think this is the part where I'm needing to see the most change. So let's just delete these rotations here and start scaling. Actually, instead of deleting them, let's grab these and start blending in the ease through here. So let's delete these. This is where I want the flip to happen, the change. Delete this guy, let's move this keyframe up. Nope. Nice little blend here. So through here, just tracking the. There we go. It's a nice little rotation a little earlier. That feels pretty good. Now just let's work on the. That's feeling good. Now let's just work on the finger pose because this is broken from the beginning to the end. So what we're going to do is just go back into our perspective. Let's grab our finger poses right here. 1, 2, and 3. So as we come in, I think we can make a little bit of a frame transition. So as this comes in, I would like to see the fingers come in more open. So let's just have the thumb expand a little bit. Expand outward. Using the blend ease as it opening up. Delete these keys. Grab the bottom two, blend to ease. A little bit of separation with the top thumb here. It feels pretty good. Grabbing this keyframe and then trying to ease into this a little bit sooner. So as we connect here, hard contact, this is where all the thumb pieces will go. And then massaging its way into here. Let's find like a nice middle line. So we'll do a tween right here. And that thumb pushing into that gun. And then this little finger adjust right here, we'll just tone this back down again. We just want to get a hint of the thumb moving. And I think here too, this bottom hand pose, I want to try to see if I could play around with it kind of dropping before, just a tad bit before the gun falls into the hand. So right around here, I'm going to get my left hand constraint and then move this guy down just a little bit. Before coming back into frame here. Almost like a catch, if you will. Like that, there we go. And then for the thumbs, just readjusting that pose to make it look like a little bit more, like this part right here feels a little too straight up and down. And in this part, I want to make it tighten it a little bit more sooner. So sort of like a catch. Let's play blast this really quick. Yeah, I think around here maybe have a little bit more of a gap. And then this pop right here, this boom, I think we could just reduce that just a little bit more. So going back. This pop right here. We're going to do our temp pivot tool again. That's about right. And then hit E. And just a small little adjustment here. See, it's just this big movement right here. I want to ease into that a little bit more. Yeah. Cool. So let's bake all this down. Grab all our controls. We will bake simulation and also merge clips. Okay, so coming in, one cool trick that you can use is grabbing the right hand, grabbing all this stuff. And then right here to the right click, there's smooth and rough, holding shift. So if you shift and then drag over, you can really get like a nice little smooth motion. Cool. Let's grab a quick play blast of that really quick. Yeah. Cool. So now moving on to the foot. We just want to give just some nice fine finesse and trailing to the leg and the foot to have that kick read as best as it possibly can. So coming through here, there starts to get off a little bit of stretch here with the toe. And we could probably just do that a little bit more. So coming through here, I'm just going to be translating the toe a little bit. You know, just to get that nice trail coming through here. And also here as well. And then what's cool too is that these ribbons, like these offset ribbons too, can be scaled. And we're going to see like which ones can favor the path scale that we're looking for. So like the calf muscle right here looks pretty cool. Probably scale this down a little bit too. Bring this here, and then also the knee as well. They got the knee control here. There's ribbons underneath too, so we're just going to mess with these a little bit. Grab both of these, keyframe. and really jack up this knee shape. And I think even here too with the toe roll or the toe itself, we're just trying to make that nice, cool trail effect. And then we could zero this out. And then for this frame right here, this will be interesting because essentially what we're going to be doing is scaling the foot up a little bit, but we're going to be doing it on the frame that's after this one to give you that cool kind of pop effect. We don't want to make it too blatantly obvious, but just enough to kind of give you the force feel. Use the force. So here again as well, keyframe, scale up the leg, scale back down the frame of the leg. And here too, we have the thigh. We'll grab the ribbon of the thigh here, here, and here. Keyframe, scale, scale down again. Let's grab all these ribbons. And this one as well. Move those back a few. And then for this punch right here, for this kick, this impact, I want to grab the left foot and then do a little kind of back and forth with the toe. This is the contact. And then grab my rotations and try to blend the ease back the same position because I don't want it quite to fall off too loose. In this part, I'm just blending out the best way that I can. So the impact is there. And then we start rotating back into. So this movement right here feels a little snappy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just adjust that a little bit. And then on our way out here, I'm going to bring up the knee just a little bit more. Because we're doing a spin kick and we want the foot to be exiting frame out. And then also rotating the foot down a little bit this way. Bringing this one down a little bit more and rotating this one down a little bit here. Yeah. Cool. And then maybe just one last toe adjustment. So as we're coming out of this kick, we start to see a little bit of translate on the foot into 0. And I think here too, we can really push the foot out of frame. And I want to experiment something like, I think like a little bit of arc in the foot or on the toe roll. I want to try to see if there's maybe some kind of framework we can give here. A little bit more curl. I'm playing this far away just so I could feel it in my head. I think right around here. Let's go in and find our toe rolls on these tabs right here. And yeah, I think just around here, let me add another anim layer. Just to get that nice spin. And then here will be 0. We're kind of reverse order it a little bit. Cool. Let's play blast this and see what we got. Yeah, I think this pop, this scale in the foot can probably better benefit us if we just adjust it. Let's run a redundant key just so I know where things are happening. I think this part can benefit from going this far. And then also what we want to do with the foot is just to make it a little bit more readable. Rotate this one back just a little bit more here. Kick. Let's go down, down. Cool. Let's give a play blast. Nice. And of course on this back frame right here, we want a little bit of bend. Just kind of like a recoil. And in this part, the leg sinks ever so slightly. but I think that's fine. So let's just do a play blast. And around here, we want to make sure that the knee is bending. There we go. Let's do a quick play blast without our locators. Yeah, this is feeling pretty good. There's just one small part that I'm not too crazy about, and I think it's around here. It's this scale change. I think we could reduce that, and I also think too this movement down here, this feels kind of like a move and then a stop, so we're just going to adjust that one as well. So yeah, this scale change here, or maybe just reduce it just a little bit more. And then this movement right here, this up-down motion. And then this one right here. We want to make sure that this leg is taking off. A little bit more of a push here with the foot. Let's do a quick play blast. Yeah. So the kick is feeling pretty hard. I like the zip in and out. I think maybe we could drag that leg out a little bit sooner. And I think here the trick that we want to do is maybe pump this calf up just a little bit more, and then give a little bit more trail on the way out to this foot here. I think the rotation here can use a little work, and this one as well. And then what we're going to do is give a little bit of curl to the foot here and a little bit more drag here. And then zero this out. There we go. And this last part right here, these scale tools, keyframe those, and then pump this one up. And then back down again. Let's grab the left foot, pull back, pull forward. Cool. And now let's play Blast. Yeah. I think here we can just move the frame over just one more. Yeah. And then go to our Play Blast. Yeah, that's feeling better. Good. Yeah, so the kick is feeling really nice and heavy. Now, doing this, I'm going to match both the 1P and the 3P utilizing all the frames that we've done, and I'm saving this as well. So essentially now what I'm going to do is just grab everything, all the controls, and then find which 4 frames I'm going to cut out from the start. So most likely this ease in, I'll keep one of these ease ins, maybe take 1, 2, 3, 4 right here, and then delete these altogether. And then essentially, once this will be animated, I'll take all of these and adjust them over. Move them over by 4. And then with this last part here, I'm just going to scale this out. 2, 3, 4, possibly here. Let it readjust. And then with that, I'm going to smart step everything here. Nice. So let's replay blast this. So noticing that this is now more instant, and we have a lot more follow through and settle to the end. And now when adding this to our first and third person, we can see that the kick is perfectly synced. The hit is on the exact moment of the 3P animation, with a little less settle than the 3P, because obviously we don't want to bog down our player point of view. And understanding that these steps, as we are polishing, we are looking at the balance, we are looking at the impact, we are looking at the motion, the transitions, the smooth frames. Obviously, this is the first person one is more intense, but we want to feel that impact being is that this is the player's POV. And as far as the third person, we're also wanting to show that nice transition by double checking our frames, making sure that everything is syncing and not popping, that there's offset and overshoot where the animation needs to. But overall, more importantly, like in video games, such as that we did in Blizzard and in Overwatch, we're making sure that the 1P and the 3P are seamless. They feel connected. The timing and the impact is the same in game. Whether you're adding frames or subtracting frames, you're most likely going to have to readjust in between each 2 animations in order to get that feel going. Yeah, and this is pretty much everything that we do for Polish and Keep Alives. Small little subtle secondary animations like hair, flow, feel. The connection and the timing is there, but also the nice settles, the nice Keep Alives from 1P to 3P. the smoother the transition and the more polish you can give to a nice keep alive, the better the experience for the player. And that's what we strive as animators to accomplish, to make it feel like it's seamless, that nothing stands out too much or feels unnatural. But given that this is a person doing a spin kick with the AK-47 is 9 impossible, we want to give the feeling that it feels impactful and it can feel real. And that concludes this chapter. So in this closing chapter, we're going to do an overview on everything that we've learned so far, what we could have done better, and also a few things on how to present this on your demo reel, and a few resources at the end. So looking back on this, this was a really fun opportunity and also a challenge too with a new rig. It's important to know, guys, whenever you are using a new rig for any kind of animation, to test the rig out to see what its qualities are. A lot of rigs nowadays tend to be made pretty sufficient and have all the standards that are required to have a satisfactory animation, but mostly are pretty passable. And in this case, the NC11 female rig was pretty good. But there have been a few things that I've noticed that while working on this rig could have been done a whole lot better. And looking at this and thinking about our process of animation, one big thing I always try to look out for that I think could have been handled a little better is just world spacing. The rig, as you see, comes with a control set of showing what controls you could toggle on in world space, part of the cog, part of the chest, part of the hips, and they're all named out accordingly to these attributes in arm space and leg space. Because I think one of the big things that I could have done better is trying to get the arm rig to be moving through the cog of Luna's rig, but not be driven by her chest. I feel like I was doing a lot of counter animation regarding the chest movement as well as the arm movement as well. Even when going through and looking at what my controls I had moving this, even with copy pasting frames, it didn't quite necessarily lock it to the world that I wanted it to. So with the right hand pull vector, the chest, in world space, there was no way to actually keep the hand moving through the root control without the chest affecting it. So either way, there was going to be some give. So even with going through the cog control, I was still going to have to fight the rig no matter what in order to get the hand moving away from the chest. But sometimes the rigs are required to do that, and in this case I couldn't copy paste the information in world space and then add it to the animation later. The rig didn't allow me for that, especially with the Anibot tools. Other than that, one of the big things that I tend to have been fighting with this rig too as well is actually getting a good neck pose. Noticing that when we're translating and moving the neck here and some of the poses that she was getting into, there was a lot of really weird bends in her neck, especially during the spin pose where you have creases like this that can be flexed out. And I think that was due to the spacing of the neck. There seems to be a lot of attributes here of squash and stretch, but really some of these attributes really don't matter. One big thing that I've learned from animating is trying to use as minimal controls as possible and not be bogged down by how many controls or how many attributes that the rig actually has. I think some of these things that are very good for doing certain movements, especially with the ribbon tool, especially with the arm ribbons that give you nice shape, but a lot of them are really not necessarily in order to help portray the animation that we're looking for. And I also think too that I probably would have gone back and actually used these roll controls that I didn't even notice that they had before. Especially with the ball roll control throughout here, toe controls, and heel controls as well as over here too. I'd probably maybe utilize these a lot more. I'm not a big fan of using the attribute controls, whether it be all on the side here, because sometimes my zero tool or anything like that doesn't catch on to special named controls instead of translates, resets, and zeros as well. I probably go back and redo these with the feet controls as well. Some small little subtle things here like armor and things didn't really need to be animated necessarily. But I think one big thing that I like to really, if I had to do this again too, was really take my time and focus on the core aspect of the jump kick. Really, really playing with these poses. There was a time when I had to go back and obviously stretch out some of these poses. I went for more of a spin kick, tornado feel, and then ultimately ended up doing more of a jab kick. And I feel like that was kind of the look I was looking for before I even started. Just reading this giant kick for the snapping part felt a lot better when I was ultimately going for the overall snap feel impact of the kick. And I think just going with this idea, instead of keeping it to a legitimate spin kick, was probably the way to go to begin with. And also, too, probably if I could do these things again, I'd probably land her maybe more in her idle pose. I think one of the big things that was a handicap for me was stepping forward and doing a spin kick while stepping back. And this jump back tend to be a little too extraneous for what I was looking for. And by doing that, I had to keep adding a few or two or more frames to get to a nice settle. But ultimately, I'm not too upset with this decision. It still gives a nice little feel, a nice little double hitch, a nice little bit of texture. But I think if I were to do this over again, I would try to see if I can keep her spin kick more in place than actually having to step forward, maybe jumping in place and doing a kick. Just to kind of help with the nice settle that she's doing and the amount of time that she's doing it. And now looking into the design aspect too, it's important to know that no matter what you're doing, no matter how you're animating, no matter what information that you're taking in, even if you're working with your own team or working at a AAA studio, communication is always key. Communication to the T. And sometimes explaining things aren't as effective as actually showing things. Most people are visual learners, most people are listeners. They like explaining things, and other people like me are visual learners. So it's important to have as much information on the data and the process that you can, especially when it comes to animation. So what I like to call your mood boards here, which we started off with, these designs, all this information, where to come to first person or third person. It's just important to have all that information documented, even if you so much as have reference that you're looking at. It's really important to share these ideas and this information with your director, with your supervisor, with your leads and co-workers too, when you're working on a set project or given a task, in order to give just as much feedback and information as possible so everybody's on the same page and everybody knows exactly what you're doing. I can't tell you how many times that having this documented and libraried in a folder somewhere so I can go in and have it to explain to somebody else, either that came on the project late or is wanting a rehash or debrief on what we're doing, saves a lot of time. And just showing them visually and having everything documented is really helpful instead of having to stop and explain everything over again, as well as keeping all this documented for yourself in the future so you can look back and see what exactly you were doing and how you ended up with the final result that you have. And there's a lot of resources on the internet that I use and a lot of things that I teach and tell all my students to really take advantage of. There's an awesome website called Fighters Generation, Step It to the Dojo. And this is a really, really great resource for looking at all fighting video games, whether it be fighters, beat 'em ups, open worlds. This website documents pretty much a bunch of games that I really, really like, and also the characters too. So you could either search by characters or by video games themselves. I'll just give you an example. Big, good, popular one is Marvel vs. Capcom. Everybody knows this game. And what's great is that you can grab any one of these characters that you want. So let's just go with Zangief, and documented by a lot of artwork, which is great. But if you roll down, you'll go to the animations, and a lot of these animations are documented by animated GIFs, and they're really cool. I tend to search and look at this stuff a lot, and you'll notice that there's a bunch of attacks. Some of them are like victories, some are attacks. And it's really, really fun to really dive deep to see how far video games go. And not all of these characters are documented as detailed as these are, but it's really, really cool to kind of dive in and check to see what characters are available. So let's just go for Iron Man, for example. So Iron Man's here. We're looking at all his documentations. And then as you do searching for these documentations, which is really cool, I have a tool on my Google Chrome called GIF Scrubber. And all that essentially is just right clicking, and then they would bring up the animation GIF anywhere on the internet that shows you the animations, but you can actually stop and play it. You can fast forward it, you can rewind it, you can play it in double time, 4 times the amount or 10 times the amount. And just by using this, and if you click on Explode too, it'll document each frame by detail. Really, really good resource to look out and check out for when it comes to wanting to study games of old and previous attack animations to see just how they made those. And it's really, really fun stuff to go through. So that's one big resource that I like to use. Another thing that I like to use is Pinterest. Pinterest is by far some of the most vaulted and documented pieces of concept art that are out there on the internet. And one big thing that I like to go to is character design references. And if you go to martial arts, there's just a ton of artwork that's documented into posing, lines of action, artists from everywhere, and even just clicking on things like this and studying how they're drawn. You really have just a variety of resources and shape languages and poses, and even just random stuff that you can come through, which is right here. Cyphers and Loris, a spear attack, and it's actually showing you step by step what these lines of actions are doing to kind of help you get that pushed pose. And it's really amazing. It's just an endless tunnel and hole full of animation resources. And they have animation there too that you can study, whether it just be fighting sticks or whether it just be frame by frame, what we're looking for, or just martial arts in general. Really, really fun stuff to really study, or maybe you're looking for inspiration or an idea or something that just really sticks out that looks really cool like this. I don't even know what this is, but just the forced perspective just feels really radical. And yeah, like just looking at all these resources, kind of seeing how far you can push poses, whether it be in video games or just in characters in general. And say even if you have like military or anything like that, there's always one of shooting and holding guns. Say if you got a military person, or a cowboy or a soldier or anything like that. Just some really cool designs, ways you stand, how you hold a rifle, cool things like that. So yeah, I definitely highly recommend just checking out Pinterest, documenting and saving things that feel good, that look good, inspire, because all the animation that we do, everything that we do, all starts from reference. And really breaking down and studying reference is the key to showing something that's really great. The foundations are out there, so really just take time, have fun, and soak up as much as you can in order to really understand your character and how you can push your poses in order to make them feel alive and really, really appealing to look at. And also I recommend YouTube is just a chock full of resources to find information. That's where we got our kick data from our guy that's actually doing real jumping kick and seeing the physicality of it by step. What a time we live in this day and age where you can almost find anything that you're looking for, whether it's somebody teaching you how to do a spin kick or changing the tire on your car. There's a lot of tutorials and there's a lot of good stuff out there to really break down information and stuff that you're looking for animators. And it's a really, really great resource. So non-stop YouTube, non-stop search for reference. And then always, if you can't do or find the reference, you could always shoot it yourself, whether you're using a camera or a smartphone. So in additional to this, one big thing I want to stress is when adding something like this to your demo reel, say if you have a new attack, whether it be first person, third person, run, an attack, a death cycle, anything like that, be sure to follow these guidelines in order to make your demo reel as top quality and as efficient and as productive efficient as it can when applying for jobs. So let's just go through and just take a moment and talk about what you look for in your demo reel. So when making your demo reel, tailor make your reel to fit the company that you're applying for. In addition to the top 5, so almost like pick top 5 studios that you want to work for and find some similarity in each company and custom make your reel to correlate with them, whether it be shooters or whether it's just fighting games or whether it's JRPGs or platformers or RPGs or real-time combat, or could be an MMO of some sorts, anything like that. Try to find the link that connects all those companies to give a same feel, whether it be humans or creatures or robots, aliens, or bipeds or military, martial arts, whichever. Find something that that correlates with all of them. So that way you're not just initially tailor making your reel to that one company, but to multiple companies. Try to keep your demo reel 1 minute or less, like even a less than a minute. Just remember, less is more. So the more information that you can give in the less amount of time, the better. For example, say if you have attacks or a cycle or run cycle that's usually around 2 seconds, and you have like 10 attacks over 2 seconds. So right then and there, you have 10 seconds of demo reel with 5 attacks. So even right there, you can have a lot of animation that's going to cover a bunch of your demo reel within just 10 seconds, a quarter of the time it takes, not even a quarter of the time that it takes to get to an entire minute. So really utilize your animations. The shorter they can be and over the multiple animations you have, the more compact your demo reel is going to have with a lot of information in there that you need. Biggest thing, guys, is best work only. That means if it is one shot, so be it. I've known probably 2 animators in my career that have gotten jobs off of just one big shot that looked great. Because if it looks good, it feels good, they're going to be questioning if you have anything else or anything more. And chances are you might get an interview just for them asking that question because if it looks good. So best work only. If it feels weak or if it feels like it's unfinished, do not put it on there, because chances are, well, actually, if it doesn't feel good to you, we're going to know that as well. You know, we see demo reels all the time, so we know pretty much the cream of the crop versus people that just to put there for fillers. So best work only, something that you're proud of, something that you can be proud to say, this is to my level, to the best that I can do. Variety helps. So make sure, you know, to make sure what you choose doesn't look like the other shot. So if you have an attack with a gun, great. Let's do an attack with a kick. Great. All right, now let's do an attack with maybe a takedown. So don't try to make it too similar, like, okay, show me 3 or 4 versions of the same kick, or a spin kick, or a high kick, or a low kick. You know, just keep it different. Keep it interesting. Show me that you can do more than just a one-trick wonder. Don't overuse your animations, okay? Try cutting it together. So if you can, meaning it's good to actually sync 2 animations together, meaning putting the same animation from 2 different angles together to get the best bang for your buck. Try cutting them, try editing them, try putting 2 animations, maybe it's a stand, an idle, and a death next to each other. If you can do that, then your demo reel is off to a great start. No dead spacers. Again, if it feels weak, take it out. Don't just put an animation there for the sake of animating because you need an even number or 30 seconds or I need a minute. No dead spacers at all. If it feels weak or if it's incomplete, if it's unfinished, take it out. Trust me, we'll know. We'll feel it's a dead spacer. Cut right to the point. Don't waste time with intros. This is something I've learned recently, and it actually gets the point. It actually gets the point across very effectively. Nowadays, people have such short attention spans. If you don't believe me, just go to TikTok, go to Instagram, watch shorts online. We're swipers. We swipe up and down. We go to next because we want to be entertained. We want to find something that catches our attention. Same thing with animation. Don't even bother showing me your name or your phone number. Just get right to the animation. And at the end, if we're watching all the way through, you have your name and your information. That's an effective demo reel. So maximize reuse of animation if you need to. So say for example, we're doing this attack animation that's 2 seconds. Normally the rule of thumb is you could put it on repeat 3 times, but no more. So if you have a spin animation kick like we just did, I would probably animate that on repeat for 3 times in a cycle, and that's it. That's the maximum number. I wouldn't go anything past that. Last but not least, sound effects are included. Music is okay, just nothing annoying. Really, I don't like to use music in my demo reel. I try not to put it in. I try to let the animation speak for itself, because sometimes we do watch the demo reel without sound, just in case there's dialogue or anything like that. But sound effects, definitely a must. I prefer that, especially if you have a gun shooting, or if you have an attack or a smash or a collide or just a sound effect. Really amps up the attitude and the physical prowess of your animation. So it's always a plus to take a look at. So really do that to kind of help out your demo reel.
So that concludes this chapter. Thanks so much for taking it with me. Hope you liked it, hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. I think the big takeaway is it's always a challenge and an experience to animate something new and fresh, but the big takeaway is just to have fun. If you have fun with the process, you can't lose. My name is Brad Faucheux. Thanks for taking this course with me, and I hope to see you next time.